Welcome to The Rod Pod, the review of death, a Doctor Who podcast and your fortnightly home for Doctor Who news and reviews. I'm Matthew Toffolo. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Billy Garrett-John. How are you doing, bud?
All right, my love. I'm very, very good, thank you. Hello to people who are joining us on the prestigious Pickaxe week. If you don't know who we are, as he said already, I'm doubling up here, but that's Matt and I'm Billy.
Yeah.
And we talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah, that old rubbish.
And if you're
hundreds of people
a regular here...
They're still making that.
Where did they they're not made an episode since 2009, have they?
Yeah.
And if you're a regular here, you know what to expect. So
yes.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Usually at the top of the show, we like to talk about news and ongoing information about our favourite science fiction series. But as we jokingly referenced, it's been a bit dormant for the past couple of months. Matt, let's try and condense down where we are in the world of Doctor Who for not-wees, which is the technical term for non-Doctor Who fans. What's been going on in the last couple of months?
Not much. Well, no, that's not true, actually. We have had a series this year, which was mixed. I'm going to go in positive. It's early in the morning. Oh, no, it's not. It's live at 5 o'clock. I'm going to go in positive. We had a pretty good run of episodes this year with Ncuti Gatwa. Ncuti Gatwa found his stride in the programme. He was teamed up with Belinda Chandra, who was played by, that's it.
Varada Sethu.
Varada Sethu, yes. Both very good. They worked very well together. They were
absolutely
a really golden TARDIS team. Unfortunately, come the end of the series, kind of like what happened last year, by the end of the series, the finale, which is, funnily enough, what we're going to be talking about today, the finale kind of ballsed everything up, and it just felt like a bit of a disappointment. And then Ncuti Gatwa decided he wasn't going to stick around because he was knackered. He's done a new article, actually. I can't remember where it was, if it was in The Guardian or something, but he did say, he was like, I was just exhausted. I just wanted to do other stuff. I imagine part of that was because Disney, who are currently the co-producers of Doctor Who, have not decided whether or not they're going to go in for a third season. At the moment, it's looking very unlikely. And we still have a spin-off, which is, again, a co-production between the BBC and Disney, which is about the Sea Devils, these guys behind me, although they don't look like that, they look shit. Yeah,
I think people have got the measure of what we're about from these opening couple of minutes, haven't they?
Probably have. So until that has aired, which was supposed to be the end of this year, but now seems like it's been pushed back to next year, which isn't good. Until they've got that out the way, Disney cannot officially make a decision on whether or not they're commissioning new Doctor Who. So all of the production at Bad Wolf in Cardiff, they've had to slam the brakes down because they literally can't do anything. They can't write anything. They can't cast anybody. Billie Piper might be Doctor Who for all we know. But by the time Doctor Who gets made, Billie Piper might be getting her bus pass. So, it's...
And that's where we are. That's the torrid state of affairs in the Doctor Who universe. But what we've been doing on the podcast as a sort of mini arc over the last couple of episodes, with the odd exception, is discuss Doctor Who finales. So we've discussed a finale which will crop up here on this list from Doctor Who's heyday back in 2006, or modern Doctor Who's heyday, I should say, with Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. We've discussed the most recent Doctor Who series finale. Actually, in this current incarnation of the podcast, we've covered a lot of ground that we're going to be discussing today. So we've got 14 odd episodes to go through. That includes two-parters amalgamated into one Gestalt entity, so that we can properly grade these, because we'd be here forever otherwise, and nobody wants that. And the tier list options are thus: Series 1 finale takes the place of S, I believe.
I love how that is just... Yeah. That's the measure, isn't it? That is the measure of anything.
It is. It's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Gert Lush in A, did the job in B. C, week T. I did this months ago, so I don't know what reference I was making there from, Gen Z speak. And show needs a rest down in F tier. So
right. Speaking of Gen Z speak.
Yeah.
6, 7. Have you heard of this?
Skibbity toilet, mate.
Like, my nephews are coming in from school going 6, 7, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't say it quite like that.
Should we guess before I Google it? Are we 6, 7 is that a new way of saying mid? It's like a 6 or 7.
Oh, maybe. Oh, that makes sense. Apparently it's something to do with basketball. I don't think they really understand what it is, but they just all say it. Some TikTok
in Gen
thing.
Z slang, 6, 7 is a popular nonsensical phrase that is fun to say and use with hand motions. Thanks, Google AI.
Wow.
With no deeper meaning or specific definition. It's a trending meme amongst young people, often used simply because it's silly and a catchy thing to say. Well, I am none the wiser, but I didn't expect Google AI to give me a solid answer on that one, if I'm completely honest.
No, that's true. Fine, sure. If you know in the comments, let us know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let us know.
On that tangent, you'll get this
We're
on
gonna
this podcast.
Yeah, you're going to get lots of tangents, but we're going in direct. We're going in hot with this one because if it's the same on your screen as it is on mine,
yes,
the series 1 finale is going to go into S tier because that's the first one up.
Yeah. Do we want to say why? Because it's just fucking brilliant.
Go for it.
Now we actually reviewed this one, didn't we? We've done this one on the Rod Pod. Do you like that, Rod Pod?
Yeah, you said it at the start. I think that's like a colloquial term that we've picked up.
Yeah.
From others.
Yeah. So we have reviewed this one in full, so go check that out. But yeah, I mean, it's just superb. It's just one of those where everything builds in the right direction. The stakes are high. It doesn't really let up. As soon as the episode starts, there's a sort of doom-laden sense that, this is going to be a big one and something's going to really go to shit in this one. Yeah. And it does, really. The Doctor regenerates at the end. It's a fantastic ending for the Ninth Doctor's arc. The Time War seemingly comes to an end as the Emperor Dalek's destroyed. Billy Piper and the Doctor have a snog. Not Billy, not you. Do you have a nice snog with Chris Eccleston? Yeah.
Hook her up.
Yeah, so everything sort of just comes to a very satisfying conclusion after 13 really strong episodes, give or take 1 or 2. But, series 1, we always say, is like the strongest run for Doctor Who since it came back. Now, partly, is that our nostalgia goggles? Maybe.
I was just about to say that.
Maybe. We were both kids at the time. I was 12. You were...
God. 9, 8 or 9.
9 years old. Oh, bless him.
Great age.
Great age, yeah. Great age for watching Doctor Who. Yeah, so that's where I think is at. Oh, and the Daleks are good. It's like one of these stories where the Daleks are served well. Latterly, they've been a bit poo. But here, they're on top form.
And they're in their full glory. They're at the height of their power.
Yeah, Emperor Dalek gets revealed. That was like really exciting at the time because we hadn't seen him since 1967?
8?
Yeah, around that time. The late 60s.
It's massive. And I think that, the decision had already been made to renew Doctor Who by that point. But that finale, I think, really solidified, okay, this is the success that they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And also this is the structure for season finales going forward.
Yeah.
It does provide a bit of a template, but whether that is matched by the content of later seasons and the lead up to their respective finales, we'll have to see. But yeah, series 1 finale, S tier, Bad Wolf parting of the ways, right at the top.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
The next one is a story which has received an awful lot of praise in every conceivable direction.
Yeah.
Since it was first broadcast. And I completely understand why. The tricky thing, personally, and I think you'll probably agree, Matt, is that this falls at a time of Doctor Who, although we really like Series 10, we were only talking about it the other day with our review of Oxygen, it becomes a bit muddled for me, particularly around finales.
Yeah.
But World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls, I don't think I can put it on the same pedestal as Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, but I'm sure a lot of people would, and you might think so, but I would put it up there in Gert Lush personally.
I mean, yesterday I said to you, I was like, God, I can't remember some of these finales. Basically, anything after this point, my mind is a bit of a blur, so
I'll give you a hand.
Look forward to those people at home, because they're going to be like, they don't know what he's chatting about, and I don't. But Annie and I were sort of discussing this list in bed last night, and this came up.
That kind of pillow talk I dream of.
Where would you rank these Doctor Who finales, love?
From top to bottom.
Top to bottom, yeah. Yeah, and we were talking about this one, World Enough and Time, The Doctor Falls, and we both said that World Enough and Time is fantastic. Arguably the best Cyberman story that the new series has done.
I'd agree.
Very scary, a very haunting take on, you know, what it actually means to become one of these creatures. The stakes, again, very high from the off. Bill gets shot in the stomach. Seemingly that's it for her, but then she slowly becomes a Cyberman. Missy's in it, and then the Master turns up. So already, and then they seem to form an alliance at the end, and big revelations. It's fantastic. It's really, really great. Unfortunately, The Doctor Falls isn't quite as good. Now, that's not to say it's bad, but it's not quite as strong. Now, there are some lovely moments in it. I know everyone's going to say, but what about the moment with the I do it because it's right and all that stuff, which is obviously very good scene, and Peter Capaldi's amazing in it. But I think on the whole, the story's just not quite as strong.
It's not quite as urgent as the first part, I think, from memory.
A lot of the atmosphere goes, I think. Because I
agree,
think the first one
it becomes
has
a base under siege, doesn't it, basically?
Yeah, in the countryside, you know, and it is, I mean, it's a nice idea. It is like, let's do George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, but with Cybermen. But because it's sort of like bright and sunny, I don't know, it just sort of, it loses some of the atmosphere. And then obviously all the different types of Cybermen start turning up. And I do kind of wonder, maybe if they'd have shot all that stuff at night and you just had like the 10th Planet Cybermen marching through the lawns in all the mist and the fog with their little headlamps on, that'd look really fucking creepy. Maybe they should have gone with that rather than going, oh shit, we've only got 3 Cybermen suits. Can we get some of the old ones out of storage?
But that's classic Doctor Who, isn't it? Let's be frank. I think, from memory, I do remember enjoying this story. I think it's slightly marred by the following adventure, Twice Upon a Time.
Yes.
Because this feels like it should have been the 12th Doctor's last episode.
Yes.
And you've got that coda, which I really dislike that story. For reasons I think we've probably gone over in the past and may do so in the future as well.
I was actually about to say, this story is going really well until William Arnold turns up at the end.
Until David Bradley pops up. But this has got, I think, a high level of stakes. It's got some fantastic bits of drama in it. You mentioned the I do what I do because it's right bit, which is great. 2 masters as well in a story with a companion who's been converted into a Cyberman, a base under siege, and you have to off your leading actor. Doesn't feel like it's drowning under the weight of everything else around it, which I think is quite a feat, really, considering how stuffed this 2-parter is. So I would agree with you in terms of, I would put it in Gert Lush, because it just, that second part just nubs it down.
who knows? Maybe if we come back and watch it at some point, which I'm sure we inevitably will for the podcast, I might change my mind on that completely, and I might rewatch it and think, actually, no, this is just as good. Chuck it up there. But I think for now, from memory,
that could happen. Yeah, for now, we'll leave it in Gertlush. We'll leave it there in my love. Right.
For people who don't know what Gertlush is, because you might not know, we're both from Bristol, so Gertlush is a colloquial term for. Yeah. That's nice, isn't it? That's good.
You don't have people, stopping each other on the street saying, "I love that T-shirt. It's proper Series 1 finale." So this is just below that. Okay, next up, the Battle of Ranskor Av Kolos. Now, this is an interesting one because...
In the bin.
It was the finale to Jodie Whittaker's first season as Doctor Who. And unlike other seasons that preceded it, it was not a two-parter.
No.
It featured no returning villains from the show's history, although it did have a returning villain from earlier in the season. And it's a bit of a damp squib, I think, when you look at everything else that's on offer. As a standalone story, it's just fine. It doesn't feel like a season finale. I've said before on the podcast, I think thematically, the season finale is from the episode before this, which is It Takes You Away.
Yeah.
Because one of the main arcs, I think it's really the main arc over that season, is the relationship that Bradley Walsh's character Graham has with Tosin Cole's Ryan. Will Ryan accept him as a kind of surrogate grandfather? And that is resolved in the prior story in I think, a really satisfying kind of emotional way. And I quite like It Takes You Away as a kind of weird, creepy, cerebral sci-fi horror. To go to the Battle of Ranskor of Kolos does have the return of what's his name?
Tim Shaw.
Tim Shaw, Molar Face Man.
Nashus.
He is in the story, and it's weird, but it's kind of weird to have him come back, given that he was set up as I'm the big bad of the first story. That doesn't necessarily give you the weight to go all the way through to the season finale, but if you take season 1 as a kind of mini arc of the 11th Doctor's adventures, which it kind of is, in the same way that those first 4 adventures with William Hartnell, or 4 or 5, are linked. It does have a nice continuity.
Oh, yeah.
If that first villain had been a more recognisable baddie who got vanquished in the first story and then came back for the last one, maybe we'd be talking about this in different terms, but I think it's got a kind of sense of we're not really peaking here when we should be. Yeah. And I think that drags it down. Yeah. But it's got some good guest actors in it, and it does have a sense. Does it have a sense of stake, really, knowing that the baddie is just the guy that was in the first story? And
no. And I think the other problem is something that Chris Chibnall does that previous showrunners up until this point hadn't really done, is he sort of embraces the sort of classic Doctor Who thing of let's go to an alien planet and look at an alien culture, because if I remember rightly, there's like 2 alien people in this episode that Tim Shaw has captured, and one is like chained up to a machine because he's got special powers or something, and it kind of feels very old school Doctor Who of like, oh yes, on this planet we have special mind powers and this creature has taken us to use it for its dastardly means. But there feels like a bit of a disconnect there because we don't really know who these people are, so who gives a shit? They don't, like, the Doctor doesn't really encounter them much from what I remember at the start of it.
Well, it's only 40, 50 minutes as well, so how much jeopardy can you squeeze in when we haven't met these characters before?
This is it. And then, of course, Tim Shaw as a baddie isn't that great. Visually, he looks interesting, but he's not really got an awful lot of menace behind him. And
he's not a finale villain.
No, not at all. No, not at all. I mean, to be honest, he's not really even a returning villain at the end of the day.
And I suppose you could argue that Resolution is really the finale of that season, because it was only sort of 2 weeks after this episode went out that we got Resolution as a finale.
Yeah.
And that had the Daleks coming back. It was a big festive special, and it was fantastic. So Battle of Ranskor of Kolos, I think, just sort of gets lost in the mix. I don't dislike it as a story. There are certainly season finales on here I dislike.
Right.
I'd elect to put it in week T because it just kind of is, I think.
Really? See, I'd put it in show needs a rest. But I will do you a solid and put it in week T. We might have to change that later on.
We can negotiate these as we go through. Next up is, we've got a triumvirate here of Jodie Whittaker season finales.
Yeah.
This is from season 12, Ascension of the Cybermen, and that says Timless, but it's supposed to say, it
does say
Timless.
the Timless Child.
The Timeless
Tim Shaw
Children.
was in the last one, so this technically is the Timless Child. It's the Timless episode.
He's got involved. Now, this does go back to a more conventional two-part season finale. It's the only time that the Whittaker era did that, by virtue of the fact that Flux obviously was individual serialized episodes. They didn't go in that direction for her first season. Yeah. And then we had Power of the Doctor as her last episode. I remember really enjoying the first part.
Yes.
But I think that the Timeless Children as a concept sort of weighs down the perception of this story, because it's focused on telling that story rather than the finale. I think that
the main criticism that usually pops up is that the Timeless Child episode feels like 45 minutes of exposition, and then it finishes, and you're like, oh, okay, is that it? Which I kind of agree with.
It's very visually arresting, that final part, especially the stuff to do with the Timeless Child.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like that as a new interpretation or reinterpretation of the Doctor's past is sort of moot, because it is what it is now. It's been established in the Russell T Davies era that is what we're dealing with as a Doctor Who backstory.
Nah, it's all a dream.
It's all a dream.
Paul McGann's going to wake up next series.
Where have I been? I've been sleeping all this time.
He's still in the morgue. He's still on the slab. He wakes up.
I'm bloody freezing. I would, again, suggest that this goes into week T, because I don't dislike the story. I don't dislike the Timeless Children arc.
Yeah, okay,
and it's
interesting.
Got a few strong moments. Sacha Dhawan, as we can see in the thumbnail, coming back at the end of the Timeless Ascension of the Cybermen, is a big moment. I think the Cybermen are quite good in it as well. I really like the opening sequence on that planet where they're getting attacked by Cybermen. I think that's really strong.
And those stupid fucking heads.
And those stupid fucking heads. But we do have I was going to say a Shilda, but that's not their name. Mary Shelley Assad, the Mary Shelley Frankenstein Cyberman, is in this story. I think underused personally.
Yes, compared to the previous one. But he's very good. He's still
a good villain.
He's a good villain. He's kind of like the Whittaker era's David Banks, isn't he, really?
Yes.
Is that he is the sort of cyber leader surrogate for these stories. And latterly, when he comes back again in Power of the Doctor, which was so fucking stupid. That was dumb. That was just really, really dumb. But I digress. I actually would have put this in Did the Job, personally.
We can go for that.
I don't think it's, I think it's fine. It could be worse. Let's put it that way.
It could be worse. It could absolutely be worse.
And
we'll go for Did the Job. Compared
to Battle of Ranskor av Kolos, colonoscopy, this is like fucking Oscar worthy by comparison.
It's got stake, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's stakes in it, and it does feel like it's culminating that season in this story, and that's important. So, yes, we'll go for Did the Job for that one.
Nice.
Next up, The Vanquishers, the final episode of Doctor Who's COVID season, Doctor Who Flux.
I can't really remember any of this, so you're going to have to help me. I don't think I've watched this story since...
Yeah, same.
Broadcast.
I can remember an Ood. I can remember an older lady who may or may not have known the Doctor from Gallifrey, who was in control of some sort of machine that separated the boundaries between universes.
Yes.
I remember
Tecteun.
Tecteun, thank you. I remember Swarm and Azure, the villains who were great that season.
Yeah, but not at the end.
Not at the end. And I remember it all, by virtue of the way that season was filmed, everything was shot so that actors were either separated on sets or they had the sets ready to go to use across the season. Yeah. And I just remember a lot of stuff in caves.
Yeah.
I remember there being some quite, again, visually nice stuff going on at the end with, I believe, Swarm and Azure being Thanos snapped out of the story.
Yes, by
which
time.
Again felt like, by time, that's it. Again, felt like a bit of a weak conclusion for two of the stronger villains in modern Who.
This is what Annie and I were talking about last night, because I think she's watched all of this. She still hasn't watched all of the Jodie Whittaker era. But this I think she did watch, and we were talking about it, and I sort of said, Swarm and Azure, they started off so strong, those first couple of episodes, and I remember when we reviewed it before the podcast,
we were raving about them.
These guys are really cool, and these could be up there as like the new sort of villains for Doctor Who, and then they just didn't do anything latterly. And it was just like, oh yeah, you're still around. Oh, better get rid of you. Bye. And then they just died. And you're like, they built up this whole thing of like, he had this relationship with the Doctor in the past that we didn't know about, and it all felt like it was going to lead to something, and it didn't. And it was just like, why did you do that? They should have come back for Power of the Doctor.
Yeah, that would have been really nice to see, actually, because it did feel like he was the strongest. He felt like he was the strongest, both Swarm and Azure. They felt like the strongest antagonists the Doctor had through that whole. I mean, interesting. I suppose there's Tim Shaw, the Recon Dalek, because it does come back in part. Yeah. And that story has ripples through the Doctor's tenure. Yeah. Swarm and Azure, obviously the Dewan Master, but they, I think, are up there in terms of her baddies and modern Who baddies. It's a shame that they were vanquished so easily. I can't really remember what. What's his name? What's John Bishop's character called? Dan Lewis. Can't really remember what Dan and Yaz are up to for that whole story.
They have that whole. There's that whole thing going on. Correct me if I'm wrong, people at home. There's that whole thing going on with the Sontarans and the Cybermen and the Daleks and
oh my god,
that guy Professor Turfman,
Jericho,
Professor Jericho, Professor Jericho, and he sacrifices himself. And there's that whole unit subplot about Mr. Snake Man.
And there's all the stuff with the Timeless Child in Ireland, which again is really nicely shot. Oh no, that's the previous finale.
That's the previous one.
Mixing them up. Let's bury this and just put it in. Let's put it. Is it weak T?
I think
because the villains are quite strong, but
I mean, neither of us remembered what happened.
No,
there's a whole subplot that you'd forgotten.
I've forgotten most of it, and that might be the beginning of the end for us in terms of reviewing.
I'll put it in week T, but I will put it ahead of Battle of Ranskorav Kolos because it might be slightly better.
I agree.
Just for the benefit of having returning monsters. There are stakes to it. Mm-hmm. Let's do that again. It just feels like it ends on a damp squib, and then obviously all this stuff about the revelations of the Doctor's past and meeting her mother and all this stuff. Again, it doesn't really go anywhere because the mother gets offed pretty quickly, and so the Doctor doesn't get that revelation. And then when she does get the fob watch
thing, which just gets forgotten about.
And she's like, you know what? Rather than opening up and find out everything, I'll just stick it in the TARDIS console and see what happens.
Yeah.
If I ever need you, I'll come and get you.
May have had an effect on Ncuti Gatwa regenerating to Billy Piper. Who knows?
It's gone missing. when
we
the
may
doctor,
never find out anyway.
When the next doctor comes along to get the fob watch out of the console, I was like, right, you know what? I feel like it's time now for me to learn about my past and who I am. Where's that fob watch? Oh, sorry, it's gone missing in the move between Rothlock and Bad Wolf. And sorry. Oh, all right, never mind.
Somewhere deep within the BBC archives, that fob watch is hiding. Right. The Giggle. Now, this was the finale to the 60th anniversary season.
Yeah.
3 episodes, all of which I think are pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like, even though they haven't had a lot of time to build it up, there are stakes.
Yeah.
David Tennant and Catherine Tate are fantastic. Mm-hmm. It obviously ends with a bi-regeneration. I don't know how much we can criticize this story, given that happens, and it's felt like a bit of a weird addition to the canon.
This is a weird one because I really like this story, and I really liked this story when it aired, but it's the last 15 minutes when it then dedicates itself to introducing Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, like I said, in such a bizarre way, which seemingly just ended up causing far more problems further down the line, because not just for fans, but for the general audience as well. Because, I mean, the amount of people who came up to me, I was like, wait a minute, so is David Tennant still the Doctor then? What's going on? And I'd be like, don't ask me. Don't talk to me like I know what's going on.
Don't talk to me like I like this show. I don't know what's going on. But it's great, and it's got scale, and it's got spectacle, it's got action. There's all the stuff that was shot.
Neil Patrick Harris is fantastic as well.
Really, really good as the toy maker.
Yeah.
One of the better sort of casting decisions that have been made in terms of bringing a villain back from the classic series. One that is tricky because, at least with the Master, there's some sort of established principle of what this character is. But with the toy maker, there isn't. And Neil Patrick Harris had basically nothing to work off of. So, really, really good. I would put it at the top of Did the Job, personally. I don't think it's on the level of World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls.
Okay.
I think that it the last 15 minutes, as much as I don't want that to factor into my, placing or review of it, it is still part of the story.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of the story. So I'd be tempted to whack it at the top of Did the Job.
Me too. I'll put it there. And again, I think it's not even just that. It's like the way they defeat the toy maker as well feels so lacking in any sort of, like I said, any stakes. It just reaches a point where it's like, oh shit, we need to finish this story. Oh, okay, we'll just do this. And it's a downward spiral from there. Talking of downward spirals, The Legend of Ruby Sunday and the Empire of Death. Oh boy.
Ouch.
Oh dear. Well,
now it might be helpful to wrap this in with the following one, which is Ncuti Gatwa's second and final season finale, Wish World and the Reality War, because I think at least Wish World and Reality War sets a precedent for peril through the season. It does feel like there's more of a through line through the season. And I think the stakes are that much higher because we've spent a whole season with this Doctor already, and characters established in the first season, which of course The Legend of Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death was the conclusion of. Yeah. Those characters sort of eventually pay off in Wish World and Reality War and have more to do. I think it's a more interesting story. And it did have me more excited, I have to be honest. I was more excited to see Omega than I was to see Sutek. Yeah. Because I think Sutek's reveal at the end of Legend of Ruby Sunday is so daft. I mean, in a great way, really. Yeah. Because, and it got people buzzing.
Yeah.
So, we can't be too mean about it, because it did the job and it got the hype going. Yeah. But there is the kind of bastardization of Sutek. There's the reliance on a story that came out, 45 years prior. Yeah. Which I think is an issue. Mm-hmm. I don't think it delivers on scale and on a story level. Yes. So although they're kind of much of a muchness, I would put Wish World and Reality War above it. But it just depends on where we put Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, really.
Well, I think Legend of Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death needs to go at the bottom.
Yeah.
Show needs a rest. I think it's a right cock up. Unfortunately, the thing with both of these finales is that they're a tale of two halves. Usually the first half is okay, and it builds things up, like you said, in a really good way. It gets people hyped. Both of them did this. I think Wish World, like you were saying, is probably a stronger story on its own. It's got a lot more...
As a setup,
yeah. And that could have been its own two-parter almost, the whole Wish World thing. I think that could have been looked into more. Whereas The Legend of Ruby Sunday feels a lot more like, okay, let's just set up the finale, which is fine. Sometimes that has to happen.
But I suppose with the Reality War, it's so disconnected from that first part that it does feel like you kind of are doing away with the more interesting aspect of that two-parter. Yeah. Which is a shame. And then you've only got however many minutes available to you to do the last episode. And it stands apart from it as a two-parter, being the last episode, because it's so disconnected from the drama and the tension of the first story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even Empire of Death, you know, it goes off on its own tangent. Like, you know, it builds up to Sutek and, you know, the Doctor and Sutek have this confrontation, which is not even like a really strong confrontation. Let's be honest. You know, after the bar is very high for how these two characters should meet and interact in the way that, you know, Gabriel Wolf and Tom Baker's Doctor interacted with each other in Pyramids of Mars. And then when Ncuti and Sutek finally meet, it doesn't really feel like, other than he's sort of like shitting his pants a bit, that doesn't really feel, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
Well, Sutek's not in it enough, and Sutek
He's not in it enough. And this is it, because then fucking the Doctor's going off to the ends of the universe to find some woman to get a spoon or something, whatever the fuck that was all about. When we'd much
rather just have a confrontation between the Doctor and Sutek, or spend more time with Sutek and get into that character a bit more.
And obviously the other issue is, you know, and maybe people could be bullshit for this, but bollocks to you, you know, they strip Sutek of a lot of what his character's all about. The whole Egyptology thing, which is what made his character interesting. Let's be honest, you know, that whole, you know, did the Osirians inspire, you know, the gods and all that sort of stuff, and that whole mythology, that's all stripped away. And then it's like, well, what are we left with?
He's just a big bad dog.
He's just a big bad dog. So you've taken away one of the more interesting aspects of his character, and then they fuck around with it and make silly, stupid jokes about cultural appropriation, which doesn't even make sense, because technically humans culturally appropriated the Osirians. So fuck off, you know. And I think this goes into the larger problem with this Disney era of Doctor Who, is that there's so much.
There's a lot of bloody woke.
Well, it's not even that. It's that they're trying to white knight themselves, because they're like, oh, this is the sort of thing people are going to say. So why don't we get in there first and say it and earn brownie points? But it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. So say it
and
when
if you're
that
concerned about it anyway, then why do it in the first place if you're having to make those references? Yeah,
it's stupid. It's like, well, say it about something where, you know, it actually... that, you know, that actually happens. Don't just do it about any old bloody rubbish. Anyway, that's off on a tangent. Stick it in the bin.
So where's
they shit on my favourite Doctor Who story, Pyramids of Mars. So
that's Empire of Death and Ruby Sunday in Show Needs Rest. Where's Wish World and the Reality War going? Especially considering the fact it is the freshest episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
and of course ends with Ncuti Gatwa regenerating into Billy Piper. There's a lot of production issues that have been rumoured and are evident on screen.
I was going to say, it's on the surface of the show, isn't it? You're just watching it and going, okay, this is a reshoot, that's a reshoot. I mean, people detective...
Do you think that's going to affect the legacy of this story when we come to watch it later down the line? Or do you think we'll be far enough away from it that we can just take it for what it is? But it's such a reshuffle. Well, it's such a reshuffle of what I assume they were going for and what I assume the plan was.
Yeah.
That, it's always going to be sort of, at least for us, I mean, for a generation that will come to Doctor Who in sort of 20, 30 years' time, who didn't see this on broadcast, they won't get what a sort of shift of, oh, shit, something's happened here, that it was.
Yes.
So I think on balance, because I really like Wish World as a concept, and I really like that first episode, I'd put it in weak T. I think it's got more going for it than Ranskorav Kolos, and it's got more going for it than The Vanquishers on a story level, at least that first part.
Yeah.
But again, the second episode lets it down, and it's mired in this production nightmare that they were experiencing.
I think it needs to go and show needs a rest, because I think at the end of it, we were all just we all said, yeah, it's like, this is just, as soon as Billy Piper turned up, we were just like, okay, what are we doing with this program? Yeah. What is going on?
Fair enough.
So I will put it ahead of Empire of Death, just because, and obviously, they did all that stuff with the Rani, and obviously we love the Rani, but again, just got rid of too quickly. Omega, we were excited to see Omega, we're apprehensive to see Omega because we knew what had happened to Sutek the year before, and fuck me, they thought, let's double down and do it again. But he was crap. He wasn't even Omega. That was the problem, wasn't it? He was not even the character as written on paper. And Russell T Davies can say,
it was a big rotting baby.
Russell T Davies can say, oh, well, the Time War happened, and so it redefined what Omega was. Shut up. Go away. That's nonsense. I don't care that you're at the typewriter. I don't think Bob Baker would be very happy if he turned around and said, oh, yeah, we've turned Omega into a big baby.
Well, if he was still around, as long as he got his paycheck, I don't think he would have cared.
He probably would be all right, yeah. And he'd say, only if K9 should have fucking turned up.
If you commission my K9 and Omega movie, then we'll make this happen.
Rather than the Doctor getting that big bloody bazooka thing, K9 should have appeared and through a rift in time and just blasted Omega, and then Timequake coming soon to cinemas.
We've solved it. That's how to save the franchise right there. That's how you save a franchise.
Okay,
next. Army of Ghosts. We'll put that.
There we are.
No, go on. We'll put that ahead of Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death. So as we are right now, we're not quite halfway through, but Series 1 finale, the top tier is Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways. Below that, World Enough in Time, Dr. Falls. The Giggle and Ascension of the Cybermen Timeless Children is in Did the Job. Yeah. Below that, The Vanquishers and Ranskorav Kolos. And below that, in the bottom tier, Wish World Reality War, Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death.
We might have to move Battle of Ranskorav Kolos. Just because it's shit.
We'll adjust as we finish off, I think. Is the best way to do it. Yeah. Let's lay all these tiles down. Next up, an episode we talked about very recently.
Yes.
Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. It still hits on an emotional level that Doctor Who has never reached before or since. Yeah. It offers enough in terms of the oft asked what if Daleks versus Cybermen happened. And it, again, feels like a ramping up of stakes. And it does have that feel at the beginning of it that, the status quo is going to shift here.
Yes.
I don't know, though, if it's Series 1 finale.
I know. That's what I was going to say. And this is what Annie and I said last night. We were like, it's really good, and it's arguably the next best finale, probably. Yeah. But it just doesn't hit the same way. There's something about it. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something a bit more cozy about it. Do you know what I mean? Particularly that first episode. Obviously, there's all that stuff with like Jackie Tyler and all that. It feels quite...
It's more familiar because that first episode has the Doctor and Rose separated for the whole story.
Yeah.
And obviously, then you end up with Rose on Earth wondering whether or not she should go back and save the Doctor. And, so there is a kind of isolation of characters in it, which I think does ramp up the stakes because you just want them to be together and you just want them to save the day together and everyone to be okay. Whereas Army of Ghosts and Doomsday does feel a bit more trad in the way that it deals with the Doctor companion dynamic and them being together. So, top of Gert Lush, do we put it above World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls?
Yeah, I think so. Let's put it there. Yeah, I think Parting of the Way, Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, yeah, that just has... I think the fact that it's not set on Earth and the fact that it just starts and we don't know how they got there. They're all, like you said, they're all split up. We don't know where the TARDIS is. Immediately, you're on the back foot and the characters are on the back foot because they don't know what's going on. And although, when we reviewed Army of Ghosts, we sort of said, the Doctor's slightly on the back foot when he turns up because all this stuff with the ghosts has been happening, and so he's trying to play catch up, which is nice. It's not quite the same, and I think because you're in the future, you're far away from home, it doesn't have those familial comforts like this one does. Like Rose can't just see her mum like she can in this one, and everything's all right. So yeah, I think very strong story, but not quite series 1 finale. I don't think anything else is going to be going up there, to be honest. Certainly not the next one.
No, if anything's going to challenge it, though, I feel like it could be The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords.
The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time. Really? Oh, series 1 finale? Nobody.
Of all of the episodes on this list that we've got left to place, I think it's the closest.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, yes.
Claiming it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's up there.
No.
I mean, we did a review of this, was it last year or the year before?
Yeah.
And again, it does have a weight. It does have a...
Yeah.
It's the first story with the Master coming back. And I think it was really clever doing the Daleks for the Series 1 finale, Cybermen / Daleks for the Series 2 finale. The next logical step is we bring the Master back. And I think that the Master is used really well in it. I think all the stuff where they're, running for their lives as Public Enemy #1, I think is really good. I really like the idea of Martha Jones spending an entire year traveling across the earth, spreading the good message of our Lord and Saviour. But I think that it's those religious elements that do slightly hamper it, because it becomes far too melodramatic.
Yes.
And it becomes far too on the nose.
Yeah.
Whereas the stuff that really worked, again,
it's
might be
blowing
melodramatic.
smoke up his own ass, isn't it, really?
It is.
Like,
the stuff that worked, again, might be seen as melodramatic or might be seen as on the nose. And some of this certainly could be considered that. But, with Martha's family and their involvement in this story, that adds a weight of drama to it.
Yes.
That is... it befits a season finale.
Oh, for sure.
And again, it's a great performance from John Sim, and he feels like the big bad. But I think it's the melodrama of this caged, wrinkled testicle that sort of drops it in my opinion.
Yeah, and then I guess the resolution of that, where it's just like, well, we'll just press this button and then everything just... I mean, obviously, this is the problem with Doctor Who finales happening on Earth, is that nothing can stay. Everything has to go back in the box. Do you know what I mean? You can blow up the universe and blow up the world as many times as you want, but you've got to press that button for it to go and then back to normal. Which was the same problem with Empire of Death, when Kate Stewart and all of UNIT got dusted in the first couple of minutes. Because you're like, well, they're not going to be dead. So that, none of this matters.
But this was the first time that happened, though.
This was the first time that happened, yeah. And it did sort of set a bit of a precedent for, well, we can just do that. We can just have a button that we press and it just fixes everything. But it still bothers me. But I agree. I mean, like, all the melodrama with the Doctor, like, oh, if we all think the Doctor's name, it'll all, he'll get special Jesus powers. It's mad. It's really bizarre. It doesn't do it for me. I love the first part. First part is fantastic. Like you said, the stakes are high. The fugitive Doctor, not that one. The Doctor's a fugitive on the run. It all works so well. And like you said, John Sim is having a whale of a time. And even like the revelation about the Toclophane being, the future humans and like, yeah, you know, the master saying, "Oh, Doctor, when you find out what they are, it's going to break your hearts." All that stuff is really great. So it does have some strong moments in it, but there's just, again, there's stuff at the end that just cocks it up. So I think,
where's this going to go?
Yeah, this is difficult, isn't it? This is really difficult. This is the most challenging one I think we've had so far, because part of me wants to say Gert Lush, part of me wants to say did the job, but then when I say when it did the job feels like a bit disrespectful to it. Do you know what I mean, in a way?
Well, why don't we put it at the bottom of Gert Lush?
Let's go for the bottom of Gert Lush. Okay, yeah.
That works.
Yeah, and it's a shame, really, because I'm like looking at the giggle, and I'm like, I really enjoyed the giggle, but then it's that last bit, just it mires it. It's a shame, isn't it?
You can say that about the story we just placed as well. And a lot of them, yeah.
So here's one that we haven't talked about on the podcast yet. I don't think we've ever discussed it in any shape or form as a couple.
In fact, all of these, apart from the last one, we've not really dug into.
No, that's true. So the Stolen Earth, Journey's End. Now, this one means a lot to a lot of people. A lot of people love this one. I am not amongst them, I must say. Now, I can understand why it means a lot to a lot of people who grew up with this era, the Rusty Davies era, because obviously it's a culmination of everything that has been happening across the last 4 years of the programme, and it all meets here. And there's, we have a big family reunion at the end, and it's all lovely. That is my issue with it, is that the story that is building up with Davros and the Daleks and all that stuff gets booted out quite quickly. Again, this is very much like Reality War. It gets booted out quite quickly for, let's just go around and see everybody and say, oh, hello, how are you doing? Have a cup of tea, and, and I'm like, no, I'm not here for that. I wanted to see Davros, that for me, that is where the drama is, I don't care if Martha Jones is doing whatever she's doing with her Osterhagen key. I'm amazed I remember what that was.
She's doing Mickey Smith, I can tell you that.
Not yet. That isn't this the start of it?
Oh yeah, that doesn't happen until the end of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this is the beginning of their relationship,
of that romance.
Yeah.
It's a big team up, and that is it's the biggest team up probably since the Five Doctors in Doctor Who's.
And they're all played by the actual actors that played them originally.
I know. There's Richard Herndl hasn't, jumped in and donned a big flight jacket and spiky hair to play Captain Jack, which is just as well.
I want to see that.
Yes.
Richard Herndl as Captain Jack.
Admonishing everybody around him.
Eating pineapple.
Yeah, or putting pineapple rings on something is probably more likely, and waggling it around in his co-stars' faces. Again, it has a lot of weight for people, but even on broadcast, I didn't really feel that. I kind of felt like, it's nice to see everybody together, but it's not a multi-Doctor story, so it doesn't kind of feel like, oh wow, look at all this that's going on, isn't this exciting?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would say did the job, because it does. And there's some big moments in it. I mean, the build-up of Rose coming back all the way through that season is huge. I think the payoff of that is fantastic. And the swerve with the almost, but not really, regeneration.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Is massive.
Yeah. It made the news. It was literally on the national news that the Doctor was regenerating. That is incredible. Major. Absolutely incredible. I tell you what didn't make national news, Billy Piper coming back as Doctor Who.
It did not. That shows how far we've fallen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think Davros, Julian Bleach, brilliant.
Superb. Oh.
I think Bernard Cribbins is fantastic.
Yeah.
I like seeing everybody together, but it doesn't do enough for me for this to be up there.
Yes.
And like you say, a lot of the more interesting things from a Doctor Who perspective as old heads are dispensed with quite quickly. So I would put it in Did the Job, but do you put it above The Giggle or between The Giggle and Ascension of the Cybermen?
Maybe above The Giggle. Maybe just... There's sort of...
For what it did.
Yeah, there's sort of much of a muchness. I mean, I think that's why the Series 1 finale works so well, is because although it has all of the emotional, more soapy stuff of, like, Rose going back to her mum and being separated from the Doctor, and then sort of having to potentially adjust to her old life, it doesn't do that at the expense of the drama of the Doctor Who story. Whereas this one does, is like, a Doctor Who story, we don't care about Davros, who gives a fuck? Let's just do all this stuff. You know, and I give a fuck, actually. Davros is like
he's the only one in the country that does.
Yeah, he's, you know, as my favourite Doctor Who villain that, you know, isn't like a major monster, it was a bit of a shame that he didn't really get too much to do. But then again, I guess Davros is a difficult cookie to crack, really, because is he just... He does have a tendency to end up being just another Dalek, can't he? If depending on, you know, he's just shouting orders at other Daleks, and obviously that becomes a problem. Stephen Moffat, I think, approached it in a much better way when he did his story. That story is absolute shit, but the Davros stuff is actually really well done, and the stuff that he does with the Doctor is really well done. And it's a shame that Tennant and Davros didn't get more time together. I think they only have like a couple of scenes, especially when you consider, you know, the weight of like the stuff with other Doctors over the years when they encounter Davros. I mean, like,
because you just want them to have that showdown, don't you?
You do, yeah. I mean, Colin Baker doesn't have that much time with Davros in, say, Revelation of the Daleks.
But it's still a great scene. It's
a really good scene, yeah. Likewise with Peter. Peter barely meets Davros, but he does stick a gun in his face.
It's a cornerstone of that era, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, this is... we see this Doctor who, you know, is very fallible, and then suddenly he's like, maybe I just fucking blow your brains out. That might do the job.
How's that?
How's that? Yeah. Pick out the stingers, as my dad would say. Right. The Pandorica opens the Big Bang. Our first finale by a man not named Russell.
By a man not named Russell. Now, I have to say, this is the last time I remember a Doctor Who finale being a big deal.
Yes.
Because I remember...
Other than the World Enough and Time. That was a big deal, I think. Because I think we thought maybe... Oh, no, we didn't think Capaldi was going to go.
I mean more for the casual audience.
Oh, I see. Yes. Oh, completely agree. Yeah.
That's one of the last, memories I have of that accumulative, you know, that experience of everybody watching Doctor Who together. Like that, you know. And I remember it being, I wasn't even at home, but I was with family, and it was like, no, the Doctor Who finale's on tonight, and everybody being like, oh, is it the last episode? It's like, yeah. And then everybody that was there, it was like a garden party, I think, or something like that. Everybody that was there, whether they were family or friend or whatever, they were in the living room and they were watching the finale.
And they were saying, Billy, what the fuck's going on?
They were saying, this is shit. But it's from memory, is a great 2-part finale. I don't remember enough about it. I don't think I've watched it for a very, very long time. But
again, it's one of those where I really like part 1 and part 2 just sort of happens.
Right.
I can't really say part 2 doesn't really leave a lasting effect on me. The only thing I really remember from part 2 is there's a lot of jumping around with the Doctor dying in the museum, teleporting, Auton Rory, and then the wedding of Amy Pond and Rory at the end.
Yeah.
And it just
I can't
feels
really
very...
remember what happens between those bits.
Yeah, it's just a lot of jumping about and this happens, zip, 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 the end. Whereas the first part feels like a proper build up to something is going to happen. Amy gets shot and dies, and we're like, fuck me, that's insane. And killed by Rory, of all people.
Yeah. And
Rory's like, thank fuck. That'll teach you.
She's bloody horrible. She's been horrible to me. And that great last bit with the Doctor being locked in the Pandorica, that's really, really good. That
is a very good cliffhanger. That is so strong, and Murray Gold knocks out the park with the score, and the way that's all shot and stuff. It's great. And then that
Matt Smith's performance is fantastic.
Yeah, that pull out, and then you see all the stars going out around Earth, and it's sort of quite a quiet sort of conclusion to the episode, but it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, because it's not like everything's on fire, but it's like the Doctor is fucked here, you know?
Yeah, everything puffs out of existence, and then that's it.
And I think it's really cool to have the villains all get their own back on the Doctor.
Yeah,
we've never seen that before, but it doesn't feel like wasted, because it should feel like a big moment, but it does. You know, they're all there, and they all have their own reasons for doing it, and it's very satisfying.
It's very satisfying, and the whole idea that the Doctor's like, no, you dickheads, you're looking the wrong way. Well, you're looking at me thinking I'm the bloody problem. The real problem's over there behind you. It's great. It is very good, and I agree. I think what you said about it sort of being in the public consciousness, it really was, and I think it's the last sort of time Doctor Who's got like a real retail presence as well, because at that point, there's a lot of toys still on the shelves. You know, it was the big
Pandorica was like a big thing as well for action figures and the whole, you know, aesthetic of Doctor Who.
Yeah. And then after that, it all starts to sort of go downhill, unfortunately, I guess in the sort of public perception. So I don't know. This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because
I need to see it again to really give it a fair, you know, position on the list. But from memory, I mean, the weight of it, as we were saying, sort of having that feel of it's the last time people really cared about a Doctor Who finale.
Yeah.
You know, and looking at the rest of the ones on this list, it's kind of the last one that has a big impact. I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's like, well, it's either got to be the bottom of Gert Lush or maybe the top of Did the Job.
I'd put it at the bottom of Gert Lush.
Okay. Maybe this
is
one...
more for me as a story than Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Davros is great in that, but it's not enough to see the Scooby-Doo gang get together again.
Yeah.
To really make it like, oh, that's you know, cracking TV.
Yeah, I guess, you know... At the core of it, the Stolen Earth Journey's End is the Daleks invade Earth again.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has, you know, like you said, the baddies team up to create a trap to snare the Doctor, and they bloody do it, and the universe ends because of it. And you know, what has the trouble is, I think, with this is that the revelation of what actually has caused the Big Bang and all this sort of stuff. So many of the threads are left hanging to go into series 6 with the silence and all that stuff, because the silence will fall thing comes up in this story. But it's not really answered, because I think at the end, you know, the Doctor's like, who blew up the TARDIS? And
nobody knows. And
we never really, I mean, we do find out, the silence did it, but we never really get a real sort of solid answer. You know, we never sort of, do you know what I mean?
Where a baddie gets a come up and saw there's a big, like, and a big, like, Sherlock Holmes deduction
where you
scene.
See
it was you.
It was you, yeah. It was Jimmy Silent over there. He snuck in one day and blew it up. I don't know.
With his big fishy fingers.
With his big fishy fingers. So, yeah, I think let's put it at the bottom of Gert Lush, and perhaps at some point in the future, that is one that we should we should rewatch. Maybe
It's
in the
going
new
on the
year or
list.
something.
It's going on the list.
Because we've done a lot of finales this year, so maybe we put the
Park
brakes
it.
on. Yeah. And we come back to that because I would like to rewatch that one. Here is a story that no matter how many times I watch it, my brain just, it's a bit like the Horns of Nimon. It just says, no, I don't want to know.
This isn't happening.
This isn't happening. Although actually I would sooner watch the Horns of Nimon. The Wedding of River Song. Can you remember anything that happens in this story? All I remember is they're all wearing eye patches. There's a big pyramid. There's a bit on a train.
There's a bit with Winston Churchill. The Doctor gets naked. The Doctor's rapping. The Doctor is in a Laurel and Hardy cartoon. Is that one?
Oh, yes. He's in the beginning of the Laurel. Is that in that one or is that in Power 3?
Who gives a fuck? No, anyway. I don't remember anything about it, so I can't really say anything. So I don't remember hating it. I think the Silents are great villains.
Yeah.
But there's all the stuff with the Tesseract, and is that the robot that River Song?
Oh God, yes.
Shoots.
The robot. The Doctor dies, but he's not a robot. Only joking. He was a robot. That whole fucking shit. They get married at the end, but she's marrying a robot, and the Doctor's inside the robot in his eyeball, and he's like, "Ooh, hello." Shit. Show needs a rest.
Show needs a rest. I
think the fact that neither of us can. I'm going to put it ahead of the other two because. The other two...
We just assume it's better.
We just assume it's better. Like, it has not impacted us enough that we remember it with, like, fury.
In a negative sense, yes. Yeah.
But it is so incredibly forgettable that we've literally forgotten about it. And I think I've watched this episode 3 times over the amount of years it's been out. And every time I watch it, I always go in watching it thinking, God, I can't remember any of this. And then...
Is that the one that opens with Mark Gatiss playing chess?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one where the Brigadier died. This is the one where he has the phone call.
That's a good scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, name of the Doctor next.
Name of the Doctor.
3 to go, and the name of the Doctor's up next. I really like season 7B.
Yeah.
I
don't mind it.
And I think the name of the Doctor is a good finale. I like all of the stuff to do with Clara in the Doctor's timeline. Richard E. Grant's in it chewing the scenery. What other baddies he's got with him in that story? The Whisper Men. They're creepy.
They're creepy. Yeah. The Whisper Men are cool.
The Whisper Men, only slightly louder than the Silence.
Yes. Stephen Moffat likes a quiet villain.
He does. He likes villains that move when you don't see him. There's something to that, you know? There's something to monsters creeping up on you. Let's not look into that.
I agree. Like, I like the Clara stuff. I like the Whisper Men. I like Richard E. Grant. There's a whole lot of stuff with the Paternoster gang at the beginning, isn't there?
Yes.
Where they have like a seance and then they talk to River Song, who's now dead. They talk to River Song via the library or something.
Her Force Ghost.
And then they have a snog, don't they? The Doctor and River Song, but she's not there. So people just see the Doctor going...
I do not remember that.
Like that. Can you not remember?
No.
Well, you don't see it, but he sort of makes a remark of like, oh, that's going to look really weird to everybody else because no one else can see her. Only he can see her.
Oh, yes,
so
that does
he just
ring a
starts
bell.
tonguing the air.
Great. And then you've got the big reveal at the end, which is huge.
Oh, yes.
Led into... one of the most successful shows the BBC's made in the last sort of 15 years. Major moment. And it was memed and it was parodied, but it had a reach and it had an effect. Yeah,
certainly did. The impact of that was like, poof, you know.
We've got a new Doctor.
And we
didn't even ask for one.
Yeah, what does it mean? And of course, it was weird because obviously we knew Matt Smith was leaving, I think, by this point, didn't we? We know that he was going, so we were like, well, hang on a minute. we know that they're looking for a doctor, but he's not the doctor that we think we're going to get. Had they cast Capaldi at this point? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but I do. Yeah, maybe our memory's playing tricks on us. People will be able to let us know. But I think going into this story, it was like, is this the one where he leaves and what's going to happen in the 50th? I have a feeling that was the sort of tension around it. I really like it. I don't know if it's funny because it's a single part. So it's you kind of have to grade them differently because they're not, it's not like, oh, you've got a front-loaded first part and a slightly weaker second part or vice versa. It is just as it is. And as a single story, I think it's great from memory. So where would you put it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Gert Lush?
Maybe Gert Lush, bottom of Gert Lush? Or
did the job? I can't really remember it now. But I can remember watching it and not hating it.
Should we put it between The Giggle and Stolen Earth Journey's End? Okay.
Did the job.
Does that feel fair?
That feels fair. Because
did the job doesn't necessarily mean crap. It just means...
No, it is a serviceable finale.
It's a finale. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Great. Okay.
Don't cremate me.
Capaldi finale. Don't cremate me. God, that was a thing.
It was.
Dark Water, Death in Heaven. Again, it has its moments, but then it's like a lot of Stephen Moffat stuff. You remember one positive and then a negative slaps you in the face. I thought, well, there's that very effective bit of the opening where Danny Pink gets hit by a car. Yeah. And then there's Chris Addison going, permission to squee. Ooh. And then there's, all the Don't Cremate Me stuff. And then there's Cyber Brigadier.
That is a shame.
It is a shame.
I don't hate this one, I gotta say. No. I think it's fine. Osgood gets killed, which is brilliant. And Missy does it in such a good way. And then it's a shame that they fuck around with all that Zygon rubbish with her, because it was such a good ending for that character. Or maybe that's just because I hated her. Yeah, I don't hate this one by any means. I think this one did the job. I'd happily put it in there. There's some bollocks in it, though. I've just remembered the whole President of the Earth shit.
The skydiving.
I don't mind the skydiving. I can live with the skydiving. The score is great as well in that point. The score is really good. That James Bondy version of the Doctor's theme. Yeah. But Cyber Brig is bollocks. Cyber Brig is
bollocks.
Oh. Yeah, but why did they do that? Yeah.
Do we put it...
did the job?
The job, whereabouts?
I mean, I'd certainly probably sooner watch it over Ascension of the Cybermen.
We'll put it above that then.
Yeah. I love how the image is Cyber Brig as well.
Of course it was. It's the only thing I remembered from it.
That's the spin-off that we should have got. 5 rounds rapid.
5 rounds rapid with Cyber Brig.
It should have been him and Doris going around B&Q Garden Centre. And she's like, come on, Alistair. Those sunflowers aren't going to plant themselves, you silly old git.
Stop electrocuting the store manager and come over here and plant these bulbs, for God's sake.
Plant these bulbs. Put that shelf up. Come on.
Yeah, you're big enough.
Yeah.
All right then, and the last one. Heaven sent, hell bent.
Hell's bells.
It's so difficult to separate these two in my mind, because I've got a vendetta against Hellbent, and I will stick to that till my last breath. But I think that Heaven Sent is fantastic.
This is the problem. You've got a phenomenal story, a phenomenal piece of television. It annoys me to this day that didn't get the kudos that it deserved, because obviously this is a
critically,
one.
You mean?
Yeah, forget that it's shitty old Doctor Who, which I think is the problem. By this point, television has moved on, and they are starting to see Doctor Who as shitty Doctor Who again, like like they did in the old days back in the 80s. It's starting to get that kind of feeling, I think, from the wider television business. But it is such a shame that it didn't get the kudos that it deserved for, like, you know what, this is really ballsy that primetime television, they were just putting out an episode with one man in it, and he is, he's running that story for 45 minutes. And he's so good in it. And I think it's really well written and beautifully scored. And then you've got Hell Bent, which I remember when we watched the two of them back to back and we did it as a review, I remember coming out of Hell Bent and being like, well, it's so many years later, I don't mind it as much as I did at the time. I know the Doctor shoots that Time Lord, which is out of character. And I know the whole... I mean, it's the thing is, you can say, oh, it's out of character, but someone will turn around and say, oh, but that's the point. It's because, it's how far the Doctor will go to save his friend. And obviously, by this point, for a lot of fans, us included, Clara's starting to get on our tits anyway, because they've, ingratiated her into the Doctor's life so much and into his sort of core history that you start to think, fuck me, did he even have a thought of his own? Did he wipe his own ass? Because it seems like she was there around every turn saying, how about you do this? How about you do that? No, how about you wear that scarf? No, how about you put that frilly shirt on? It feels like that. So she was rubbing us up the wrong way.
A shielder in this as well.
Oh, God, yeah. See, and then obviously it's tied to two absolute diarrhea stinkers of Doctor Who.
And it kneecaps okay story with quite a dramatic ending. Yes,
the
Doctor drags Clara out of her time stream and saves her from the Raven, thus negating everything he's been through in Heaven Sent. And I know that you can view that as a separate piece of television, but if you view it as part of the finale, it makes his struggle relatively meaningless because he's just able to pluck her out of time again. And that's the biggest problem I have with this. It just feels like a really odd choice to make, in the drama of your own TV show. It just seems like a really strange thing to do.
Yeah. And then she pisses off in that diner, doesn't she? Flying through space and time.
In the flying diner. Yeah. Lesbians in space. So what are we going to do? I think weak tea. I don't think it's but then that first story's so good. I don't know. We've got to take it as a package deal, though.
That's hard. It is difficult. And like all the stuff with Rassilon gets sidelined. Again, it's like, we don't want a Doctor Who story. We want this other stuff.
Really, we should have a separate tier for this to say,
half and half.
Heaven Sent's, half and half. Heaven Sent's great and Hellbent's crap.
Yeah. Do we stick it in Did the Job then? Because it's slap bang in the middle.
I'd be fine with that, but I think, given that an episode like Heaven Sent is in there, I feel like we need to do some reshuffling here.
Heaven Sent should be up Gert Lush Series 1 finale, I think, because it's so good. And then Hell Bent should be certainly in week T. Yeah. That is tricky. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking if we put it between The Giggle and Dark Water Death in Heaven, at least it's pretty much in the middle of the list. Okay. And then I think we're probably due an adjustment or two.
Yeah.
Because...
Actually, maybe I would put it... See, now I'm looking at it and I'm like, looking at the name of the Doctor, and I'm like, well... Yeah. I remember...
the first part is above or equal to everything on the first two lists.
Or do we put it at the top of Did the Job? And then it's sort of...
Yeah, in fairness.
Let's just do that. Let's put it right at the front of Did the Job. it's it's
we're acknowledging
split.
how great it is and acknowledging its shortcomings.
Yes, very much so. Whew. So that's it. So series 1 finale, Bad Wolf, Part Another Ways. There were no others. Gert Lush, we've got Army of Ghosts Doomsday, we've got World Enough for Time, The Doctor Falls, we've got The Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords, Pandorica Opens, and The Big Bang. Did the job, Heaven Sent, Hell Bent, but obviously that's a little bit, not wholly true, but that's fine. Still on Earth, Journey's End, Name of the Doctor, The Giggle, Dark Water, Death in Heaven, Ascension of the Cybermen, The Timeless Children. Week T, we've got The Vanquishers, The Battle of Ran's Core Av Kolos.
Well done.
And then Show Needs a Rest, Wedding of River Song, The Wish World and the Reality War, and then The Legend of Ruby Sunday and The Empire of Death. How do we feel about that?
Empty. No, I don't know. I feel like that's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like the only one I would be tempted to move, but then I can't find a good reason for it, is Battle of Ranskor of Kolos. But I don't feel it's bad enough, and we don't have the gears to grind towards it that the bottom three have in our minds. It's just sort of nothingness.
Yeah.
It's not overly negative. And we can remember elements of it, which is more than can be said for the Wedding River Song.
That's true.
It didn't sink an entire brand, so we can't put it alongside Wish World or Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah, I am slightly tempted to put it in the bottom one, but I think we're in an even sort of space. I'm happy with that. I'm happy to leave it where it is.
That is progress, folks. That is progress right there.
But I mean, we might watch it in a few months' time and I'll be like, actually, no, this is dog shit. What are we talking about?
Well, we can always come back to this list and as more Doctor Who finales creep through the void into our eyes, then we can always pop these on a tier list as well.
Yeah.
But that about wraps it up. I think we've done a good job there. I think we've pleaded our case.
Yeah, very much so. It was really good. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be back in a fortnight's time with our review of Castrovalva. That is the Fifth Doctor's debut story, Peter Davison's debut story. We're going to be reviewing that one in memory of Christopher Bidmead, who wrote that story, who passed away in August. Yes, so stay tuned for that. And of course, there's lots of exciting stuff going on over on our Patreon, Review of Death Patreon. We've got a Q&A that we've just done. That's out now, where we answered people's questions was that from Discord or where were they from?
From Patreon, yeah.
And then we've also got commentaries and all sorts of stuff still to come. We're going to be reviewing Probe next, or doing a commentary for Probe Part 2, which is going to be interesting. Doctor Who spin-off from the 90s. So, lots of good stuff over there. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time for Castrovalva. Goodbye.
Goodbye.